This program is part of the Cosmic Potato Podcast Network. For more shows like this, visit our website at cosmicpotatonetwork.com.
Watching television, watching television. Watching television, watching television. I need all the image, I need all the sound. I know the info right into my mind.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Trial by Pilot. This is the show where we judge an entire series of television and the work of hundreds on one episode. I'm Bill Lynch.
I'm Elizabeth Lynch.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh. Why didn't you tell me you were going to ask this question? I feel like I've answered this question before.
On this podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought maybe it would be novel since we haven't really done any superhero shows.
Well, of course I can't remember my answer. I don't know, like the ability to like stop time.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to stop time so that I have more of it.
So you still move, but the rest of the universe has stopped?
Yeah. Then I can catch up.
Okay.
That's really what I need right now.
So everything else freezes, but you can still like put away your laundry.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or not. Or I could go take a nap, but like then I haven't missed anything.
Right.
And yeah, that's what I want to do.
Do
Stop
you
that.
still age during this?
No, of course not.
Oh, okay, I'm just making sure this power is like really good.
No, it's really good. It puts me up on everyone else.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, you could like steal shit.
I could, but I'm more just concerned about like cleaning my house.
Jeez, that's what you use your superpower for.
No, but you know. And like, then I could also like maybe go back a little bit. Like I could like rewind.
Well, now you can rewind time? These are two different powers.
Well, I can play with time. That's my power. So I can stop it. And I can also rewind it. Okay. So that I can, you know, say the smartest thing. Like, you know, you know what I mean? Like, oh, like, you know, I could always kind of have like a good comeback or something.
So it's like me editing this podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I said that much later. I just clipped it in right there.
you know, stuff like that. I just want to like appear really smart and together.
Very practical.
I think it is.
I know it is. That sounds like something you would choose for a superpower, something very practical.
I mean, it would be cool if I could just like snap my fingers and the house was clean.
Yeah.
That's a good superpower. Maybe I'll change it. Maybe that's what I want.
Well, that's kind of what Wanda can do in this show.
Yeah, kind of.
With her telekinesis. So, did I already mention we're talking about WandaVision? I don't think so. We're talking about WandaVision. A new Disney Plus series. Of course, Disney now owns Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This show, I think this show is like kickstarting the next phase, in quotes.
Okay.
So I know you haven't seen any of these movies. Maybe you've seen one. Didn't you see like Winter Soldier or something?
Yes. Yeah, I saw that. That's it.
So there's been 3 phases so far, which are just kind of like loose frameworks for how the studios kind of like plan out their next projects. But like there's this thread that goes through like every movie. And like every movie kind of leads into the next one. And then at the end of the phases, especially at the end of phase 3, all those storylines really came together and became these like insane blockbusters with like every star and became the biggest movies of all time.
Yeah.
I've seen every Marvel MCU movie, at least.
What's MCU?
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay.
So not every movie that's ever been made based on a Marvel character, but everything in this universe.
Okay.
Telling this long kind of interconnected story.
Okay.
You know, there's like 20 movies or something.
And now are Wanda and Vision in these?
Yes.
Okay. Played by these actors?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I think that this show is kickstarting the 4th phase. There's this show and another show coming out later this year with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think it is. And then whatever the next movie is, I don't know. Captain Marvel or...
They just know how to make money.
They really do. They really do. And you know, some of the movies are better than others. I hadn't been really into them up until, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. And I was like, you know, I'm just going to start watching these. You know, the ones I've seen are fun. and I just slowly went through all of them. So now I've seen them all. And, you know, some are okay. Some are like really good action movies. They're really fun and competent with, you know, good acting. And then, I mean, the last few were just like, you know, cinematic spectacles. Like the movie you say, like, I want to see that one in the theater.
Right.
Just because of like the pomp and circumstance and like just craziness going on. So yeah, so I've seen all the movies. There are like side stuff and like other shows that have gone on like Netflix before Disney purchased Marvel. I haven't seen those. Elizabeth, you're coming in basically with no knowledge of anything.
Right. If I saw, I would, no idea who these people are.
Yeah.
Because these aren't even like very, like if someone said like, oh, there's a show about Captain America. Okay. But like, I've never heard of these two characters.
Right.
They seem like they're not really like main characters.
Yeah. So I knew Scarlet Witch, which is what Wanda is.
Okay.
I don't think I knew about Vision because as a kid I would read the X-Men comics, but I was never really into Captain America or Iron Man or those guys. So, and that's like a separate universe, the X-Men.
Right.
Although now there's talk that they're going to bring them into the MCU because now Disney owns them too.
Because why not?
Because for a while Fox owned them and now it's this whole thing and now Disney owns them. So yeah, this stars Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda and Paul Bettany as Vision.
Who's Paul Bettany? What else has he been in? Like, I didn't recognize him. Is he just like known for this character?
He's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in Da Vinci Code, A Beautiful Mind, Master and Commander. He's been in like some big name movies, not necessarily as the lead.
Okay.
But I mean,
I'm just not familiar with him. Okay.
And so I wanted to do this show for a couple of reasons because we had something else on the docket too that you wanted to watch, but I thought we should do WandaVision.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of Netflix stuff recently. We haven't done any Disney Plus stuff recently.
Yeah.
We've never done anything with Marvel or MCU. And this season, which I think this show is 9 episodes. I mentioned something last podcast. This show is 9 episodes. It is the most expensive season of television ever made. It cost them $25 million per episode.
What?
For a grand total of $225 to make this season. Most expensive series ever. And you would not know it by watching the pilot episode.
Yeah, no. Wow.
So let's talk about this pilot with that in the back of our minds because we can come back to it later. Because if you watch this and you ask someone how much do you think it cost to make this, you would not say $25 million.
Right. Well, because it looks like you're watching I Love Lucy or something.
Yes. I mean, it starts off, let's get into it, as like a full-on 1950s black and white sitcom.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And, you know, they don't really give any kind of, you know, intro to the characters. They're treating it as like a sitcom pilot.
Yeah, like it's a standalone thing.
Yeah. They're moving into this new suburban home. Vision, you know, is walking through things. Wanda's using her powers to kind of move things around and clean up. And, you know, she's like putting plates away across the room with her mind. And Vision walks in and she accidentally smashes a plate against his head and they make a joke about how hard his head is. And she like puts it all back together with her mind and puts it on the shelf. Just like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're hugging each other and they look over at the wall where there's a calendar hanging and there's a little drawn heart over the 23rd on the calendar. And so they're both kind of playing coy because neither of them really knows what it's for.
Right.
And so he goes off to work and their neighbor comes over to chat up Wanda, played by...
Catherine Hahn.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she brings over this magazine about how to please your man and be seductive and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, at work, at Vision's job, he's like typing up these forms and just like flying through them.
Right.
Like, you know, his like hands are, you know, sped up. But then he's like wondering what these forms are actually for. And no one seems to really know. Like his coworkers are like, well, they're analyzing the data.
Right.
He's like, they have the data for what? He's like, well, to make sure the forms are efficient. Like, it's just a circular thing.
Yeah.
His boss there is named Mr. Hart. And so somehow he puts together like, oh, that must be the heart on the calendar. And so he invites them over for dinner.
No. The boss comes up. He said, I'm looking forward to tonight. They had already invited him to dinner.
Oh.
And so
okay.
they had put it on the calendar as like heart, like the hearts for dinner.
Oh, so that's really was the reason it was
That
there.
really was the reason. But neither of them could remember.
Okay, I missed that part.
Yeah.
And so he shows up with them while Wanda is ready to surprise him in like a little nightie.
Because they have that classic like sitcom misunderstanding. He's like, oh, about tonight, he's about to tell her
Yes.
that it's not coming over. And she's like, oh, don't worry, I've got it all under control. And so they're like, not on the same page.
Right.
But think they are.
Yeah. And so they have this big mess of a dinner where her neighbor has to come and drop off food at the back door with these recipe cards. And she's like trying to use her powers, but she accidentally flings the lobsters out the window and burns a chicken by like trying to magically cook it really fast. And then she reverses it, but it goes too far and it turns into a basket of eggs. Like just really ridiculous stuff. But then finally, as Vision's like jerk boss is like getting really rude and impatient, Wanda whips up some breakfast for dinner and gets it all set on the table behind their backs. And so they sit down, they start to eat, and they start to tell the boss and his wife, like, why they moved there and where they were married. But like, as they like start each of these sentences, they can't remember any of the details.
Yeah.
And
they get these like really weird looks like, what is going on? Why are we here?
yeah, like they can't remember anything about their past or their relationship. And so the boss starts yelling, like, finish, like, where did you come from? Why are you here? And as he's yelling, he chokes on something. And then it gets really surreal as the boss's wife is like, oh, stop it, like jokingly.
Yeah.
But then he like falls on the ground and is like clearly dying. And she's like, oh, stop it.
And she's like kind of then like saying it to like Wanda and Vision, like, stop it from happening. That's what I thought.
I don't think that's what it was.
No?
I think it had another meaning, like something we might not know yet, like stop whatever. Someone's controlling this world,
Right.
that she's in. So I think it had some deeper meaning, but I don't know the answer, honestly.
And then finally, and they were just like sitting there, and then finally, Wanda's like, help him, like Vision, help him.
Yeah.
And like just a different tone than her normal like sitcom wife.
Right,
tone.
right.
Yeah.
And so, he uses his like superpower to like scoop out whatever the thing was lodged in his throat. And then the boss and his wife like leave as if nothing happened, nothing weird.
Yeah.
And as they go to leave, there's a lobster stuck on the door as a door knocker. It's one of the lobsters that she flung at the door.
Yeah.
And so Wanda and Vision snuggle on the couch, and because they can't remember anything, they're like, well, let's just decide what is our relationship song. And they decide it's Yakety Yak.
Yeah.
Because that was played a couple times throughout this episode as like a joke.
Yeah.
And Wanda makes them some wedding rings because they didn't have any. And they're having a nice moment. But then we pan out as if it's the end of a sitcom episode. Like they're like doing the end credits, like starring Wanda and Vision.
Right.
But then somebody in a modern setting that's colorized, whatever it is, a lab, a surveillance room kind of thing.
Yeah.
With a bunch of like buttons and blinking lights, is watching them on a TV. And they have some kind of like remote or device in their hands.
Right.
And that's the end of the pilot episode. What did you think as someone who has no fucking clue what any of this stuff is?
I don't know, because it didn't like really tell you a whole lot. I didn't know anything to expect about it at all.
Yeah.
So watching it's like, so is this show, I guess I was confused, like, is this the way the show's going to be? Is it like a 1950s sitcom?
Right.
Because like I could get into that. I like Bewitched and I Love Lucy, and I do like those shows. But also, why?
Right.
Why get into that? It's just weird. So I'm not really sure. What did you think?
It was very strange to me. I guess they're just banking on the fact that the MCU has such an enormous following that a lot of people are going to know who these characters are. and where they've come from.
Yeah.
And as this season progresses, you'll fill in the gaps and kind of find out what's going on, and it'll somehow relate to the larger universe.
Yeah.
It's just strange to me to make a TV show where you have to know that stuff or it doesn't function the same way.
Yeah, because for you to say like that, like how much they spent on each episode, and the pilot doesn't really show that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much like CGI and like magic looking stuff costs, but
There wasn't that much.
like,
Yeah, because other than the actors, I mean, like making stuff black and white does not cost that much money.
yeah,
Other than paying the actors, like they only had a couple very simple sets.
yeah.
It was like a house, a living room, and a kitchen, and an office.
So I saw a trail, like a commercial for this today at some point. I don't remember what it was on, but the show looked completely different than this.
Right.
So I was like, oh, okay. I guess, I still don't know I don't know what any of it means.
Yeah.
But it also looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
I'm a little intrigued. I wasn't really planning on watching the show.
right.
But then I decided, like, all right, we should probably do the pilot for the podcast.
Yeah.
I am intrigued. I thought the feeling I got, because, I mean, the first 15 minutes of the show are like straight 50s sitcom.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Right.
And then when they're at the dinner table and the guy's choking and the wife is like staring at Wanda and you get these close-ups of her face. Stop it, stop it, stop it.
Right,
And you just
right.
sense like, okay, something weird is going on here.
Yeah.
That intrigued me. I'm like, okay, they're doing something cool with this, I think,
Mm-hmm.
I hope. And like, obviously they're building to something. Because I've seen other previews of the show where it's not black and white. Like,
Yeah.
the entire season is not going to be a black and white sitcom.
Also, like, I hadn't seen any commercials of it until today. And so, like, all I saw was the first episode. That was it. I walked into it completely blind. So, like, I just, like, had no context.
Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, it did work and function as a straight 50s sitcom.
Yeah.
Like it had a very I Love Lucy vibe or Bewitched.
Yeah.
I think it was very clearly going for like some Bewitched stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I'm personally not interested in watching a whole season of a 50s style sitcom.
Right.
It did work that way. I'm more interested in what this is all leading up to. We ended up watching the second episode,
Right.
which is against our rules, but
We were intrigued enough.
they're made to be broken, guys.
Yeah.
And that entire episode is also entirely a black and white sitcom, except for a couple of these little strange moments.
Yeah.
So to me, having 2 full episodes do that felt like maybe it was stretching it a little bit too far if you're building to something else and it goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so weird to spend 2 entire episodes of your whatever 10 episode season as like a completely different genre.
Unless it just really is going to somehow come into play. Like, they must have some reason for that. But it didn't turn into, spoiler alert, it didn't like turn into color until the very end of the second episode.
Yes.
Where they kind of like everything came to color. So I'm like, okay, but then are they still going to be in this world when we go back for the third episode?
I don't know.
It's just so strange. And I mean, I'm like kind of intrigued. Like I might watch it.
Yeah. I mean, I am. I'm just complaining because I like to complain.
Right.
I mean, but I think it's justified. Like, you have 2 episodes to kick off this season, and they released the first 2, and then it was going to be a weekly release. Mm-hmm. So most people have only seen these first 2 episodes now. I think
Okay.
I think maybe the third is out, but most people saw these 2 episodes and then they were waiting. So to have these 2 episodes where there's really only like little bits here and there of some intriguing, like something else is happening element,
Mm-hmm.
most of it is like bits. Like the second
Yeah.
episode, there's like a very long, like 10-minute bit of them at a magic show.
Right.
That doesn't, at least I don't think, doesn't foreshadow anything or play into anything else. It's just a fucking 50s bit. You know?
The one woman in town is kind of like onto them a little bit. And so maybe it was just kind of like, I mean, but like Wanda covers it up well enough that then she's not anymore. Like,
Right.
So I really don't know.
Yeah, and I've heard a bunch of stuff that, Catherine Hahn's character is this character from Wanda in the comic books from the 80s, and this person is somebody else, another character. So like maybe all these people will play different characters in different realities. I don't know.
I mean, it's interesting. It's certainly different than like any other like superhero thing where you're like, okay, here's a straight superhero show or movie, you know?
Right.
So that's kind of cool. For someone who like doesn't care about that stuff at all, like for me to be somewhat intrigued by it.
Yeah, no, I think that says a lot. Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued by it too. My only, complaint is I wish it had progressed a little bit faster throughout the first 2 episodes, because I felt like there were just these long Bewitched style bits that, I don't know. I think looking back after you watch a full season of this, I think you'll be like, why did they spend 20% of the show on like a long black and white bit?
Yeah. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
And I mean, some of the bits were like cute and clever and funny in like that style. I guess we'll have to see where they fit in.
Yeah.
I think if they spent, hundreds of millions of dollars to make this season, I have to imagine at some point there's going to be some pretty crazy action sequences.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm wondering also what like the jerk reaction is going to be like going from this style to like some supernatural, huge, epic, whatever
battle or
scene.
whatever. Yeah.
We'll see.
I can't believe that they spent so much money on this show.
Yeah.
For it to be, I mean,
it's wild.
I guess I also just have no concept of really how much money and power that like Marvel has on its own, but like Marvel with Disney, it's like they can do whatever the fuck they want. It's like they rule the world, it seems like. Right? Like,
yeah. I mean, Disney owns so much now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Netflix had some of these movies and shows, Marvel shows, and now they're all on Disney Plus. So,
So
the
crazy.
streaming wars continue.
Yes. And we'll keep not paying for them.
Hey, we pay like $2 for Netflix.
Yeah.
So would you recommend WandaVision?
I mean, I think I'd probably at this point I'd recommend it to somebody who like has some like stakes, like who like cares about this world. I'm intrigued, but I don't know if I'm going to like it, so I'm going to keep watching it to see. But I wouldn't necessarily like tell my sister who's like me, like, definitely check out WandaVision. It's going to be cool, because I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's my gut instinct is like, yes, I would recommend it. If you've liked the MCU stuff, I think they're probably going to do something interesting with this. I've heard rumors that this is going to lead into the next Doctor Strange movie with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Okay.
Which is supposed to be like some like almost like a straight like cosmic horror kind of movie.
Okay.
So I feel like this will have some of those elements, at least towards the end, like some kind of warped reality thing. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to do something interesting with it. I defer to you because you haven't seen anything, but I would be concerned recommending this to someone that hasn't seen any Marvel stuff and doesn't care about any Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Like, why are you going to care about this Bewitched sitcom that has a couple moments of like weird stuff in it?
Yeah. I don't know.
Like weird feelings. So I don't know. I've seen mixed reactions about the way they're handling these first 2 episodes.
Okay.
I don't know about viewership though. I don't know if a lot of people are tuning in. They probably are. I think people have been waiting for this. But we'll see. We'll see as the next few months unfold and all the episodes get released. I think I'm at least going to watch another 1 or 2 to see if it continues to be intriguing and how it unfolds.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll get a second season?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, why not? Disney Plus, why not? Yeah, I guess. So Netflix had a bunch of Marvel shows that were pretty popular and I think they basically canceled them all once like the switch started to happen.
Okay.
Disney like didn't. I guess maybe because they didn't fit so nicely into the MCU, and now they're just like starting over with all these other characters that people already like.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's like
What shows did they have?
they had something called Luke Cage and Daredevil.
Okay.
And there were a couple others too. None that I ever watched. Jessica Jones. Have you heard of that one?
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't see it, but yeah.
Yeah, I never watched any of them, but you know, they were all part of each of these phases still, even though they weren't in the movies.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if the plan is to do these series like just leading into movies and other shows, or if they're gonna like do season 2, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right.
But you think you're gonna watch Ep 3?
Yeah, I'll give it another try. I'll definitely watch episode 3.
Yeah. As strange as I think it is, and I wish they had gone a little bit faster, I am intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I think it'll turn into something interesting. All right, everybody. If you have suggestions on shows for us to watch, you can email us at trybypilot@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at trybypilot. And please go on to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, subscribe to the show, leave a review, and tell a friend.
And thank you to the Beats for providing our theme music.
Thanks, Beats. Bye.
Bye.
Watching television, watching television. Watching television.